recording, so I think we have our official meeting start time.
Okay, we all set? Pledge of allegiance?
Yeah.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public input statement.
First public input session is a 21-minute session, with each person having no longer than 3 minutes in which to make a statement. A second input session may be held at the end of the meeting if allowed by the board chair. Each speaker will give his or her name, address, and reason for speaking. Public input is designated for district residents, but the board chair may give non-residents the opportunity to address the board. Please note that statements having certain subject matters such as personnel cannot be made during these public input sessions.
Do we have any public input? No. Okay. Minutes of October 21st.
I didn't find anything.
I will trust you guys, but I can't get it.
Say that again.
But I will trust you guys, because I can't get it open.
Oh, really? I read it, I wasn't here. Sounds good to me though.
It just opened.
It's hard to switch to that when you
But
get used to this, but I've needed it before too, with looking at things. I think better.
Do you have a correction, Ella?
Just, it looks like maybe a misspelling under employment, nomination of Jason McCann as case manager, middle school, and it's supposed to be Denise Nader. Spelled D-E-I-N. Is that her correct spelling, or is it Denise?
I think it's the,
so, with what?
It's D-E-I-N-S-E.
that's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a little bit,
Things are important.
yeah.
Anybody see anything else? Somebody want to make a motion? Well, actually, wasn't here. Is there anybody else who wasn't here that week? Okay, then we can vote on it.
Okay. I will make a motion, we accept the minutes of October 21st as written.
A second.
Somebody to second?
Second.
All those in favor? 5. I'm abstaining. Donation.
Okay, we received a $500 donation from Bubba Fry's for our backpack program. So we'd like to thank them for their continued support of that program. They were a frequent contributor last year and much appreciated.
Thank you. We don't need to
We
approve that?
do need to approve
I'll make
because
a
it was
motion.
500.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept that
I'll second.
donation.
Are you second? All those in favor? 6-0. All right, election results and building committee update.
Okay, so why don't we just start with the results and then we can go into a brief committee update. We're also having a facilities and finance committee meeting next week, so between both committees, we'll have some real good information to share out. So we need to certify the vote, and that will need an action after I read through the results.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read affirmative and negative by town, and then we need a motion to accept that and move it ahead. So for Berwick, we had 702 in the affirmative and 1,273 in the negative. In Lebanon, we had 599 in the affirmative and 823 in the negative. In North Berwick, we had 573 in the affirmative and 1,055 in the negative. So the total of affirmative was 1,874. and the total in the negative was $3,151.
Somebody want to make a motion for that? To certify the vote?
Oh, well, I'll make a motion to certify the vote.
Second,
Travis and Rebecca.
all those in favor? That would be 6-0.
So I can start with just a quick building committee meeting and then you can jump in. So we met yesterday, so the day after the vote, with the architects. And we just did, and the committee, so we had some representation from North Berwick, a resident from North Berwick, a resident from Lebanon, and there was no resident from Berwick. I don't think there's been one on the committee for a while, right? Okay.
Somebody at the beginning and they dropped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we talked through just some next steps. So our architectural firm, Allen, gave some overviews of ideas of different things that we could pursue and look at. And it sounded like there was a fair amount of support and conversation around bringing the building of Lebanon forward in of itself to a vote in June. That was pretty much the direction, but there were some bigger questions too about, we still have space issues in North Berwick, we have space issues at Huzzy. So Travis and Nancy, I don't know if you wanna add additional information or?
Well, wanted to know how much it's gonna go up between what the estimate we have now and when we're in June. And they're gonna get back to us on that.
Yeah, because the prices that we had currently for that school and for all these individual schools factored in the fact that all three schools would be done at the same time. So the potential for the price that we had classified for Lebanon to go up because now it's a one and done project.
Right.
Plus, now you're looking at reassessing the values of what it costs for construction, so. They were directed to go back to their, what do they call them, their
Estimators.
estimators to figure out what it would cost us to do a one and done project. And we're waiting to hear back on what that cost is gonna be before we go forward.
And then the other two schools are just gonna have to become portable cities, I guess, because they're gonna run out of room, so.
Yeah, I just had something to add to that I had asked about looking at the population numbers again, just to make sure that what we might be planning for is actually gonna be enough, not just for a couple of years, but for a good while.
So we're going to be getting those updates as far as new buildings, but also as Travis pointed out, you know, what's selling, what's up for sale, what's the population moving in? Are they families with children when like, you know, maybe 2 adults are moving out? You know, what's the profile coming in, so we can really look more closely at that, as well as enrollment figures, because the last time we had it done, there was some question
Yeah.
of validity.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the 10-year and the 20-year mark.
And they're the only ones that do that? We can't find anybody else that does that?
Alan said he had some ideas, so we
Okay,
did reach out again today to see what those ideas are for different groups or companies that they did that, so we'll get that information.
I'd be curious what we did for Hanson, because I remember it was based on 1.5, each house was based on 1.5 kids at that point. But like, where did they get that from?
Right,
I think it's also important that we look at other options of not just bringing Lebanon forward, but other options, because we have capacity issues, especially in North Berwick.
yes.
No matter what happened at the vote, we were gonna have to put, what is it, 4?
More
Like,
classrooms.
the 4 modular classrooms next year for Lebanon, for North Berwick. I think we need to do an assessment on our buildings and what we have for room. I know we've done it before, I know we looked at it, I think it was last year, we looked at the Knowlton School of trying to possibly move up the 3rd grade class. And we decided as a board that since we couldn't bring up the whole 3rd grade class, we would keep it as is, because it was a 50-50, you could bring up half the 3rd grade
Right.
class, but it doesn't make sense to bring up half of a grade. So, but I know there are some, I don't think there's enough, but I think there are some avenues that we should at least look at on whether or not we can condense some rooms. Some rooms that aren't being utilized all day long, condense those into multiple uses. Maybe open up enough rooms to get more, a grade at a different school to kind of absorb some of this, but we're looking at a 5-year process now,
Oh, yeah.
before all 3 of our schools are done, if not.
Oh, if that, I would say, if we're only gonna do one school at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, there's gonna be substantial growth.
And we had talked in the meeting, about how to make sure it's clear to people what the increase is. That way there aren't just numbers flying out here, there, and no one's really sure, and people waiting on maybe getting things late in the mail, all of that. What I'm driving at is the ballot, can we put it right on the ballot? You know how on the back of the flyer, it actually shows the increase for each town? I mean, that way.
But even then, people, if they see that when they get to vote, you mean, if they probably have made up their mind. And I would wonder if it would be too late to put it on there to.
I just figured in case somebody was misinformed, they went in and like, I don't want anything to do with this because it's gonna be going up this much, and then they see and they're like, oh, that's what it is for the first year, more like that. But we talked about strategies and stuff, we can just make sure we get it out there a little bit better this time, but I was just looking at, I just want everybody to know.
You want accurate information. Yeah.
Well, I think we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, because we didn't do a great job at PR, and we didn't rebuttal.
Well,
Some of
we
these-
tried though. How many
we had meetings and stuff.
meetings did we do in each town?
Yep, we had meetings that we didn't have,
With no
the
team.
participation level was very little.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a
when
lot going
partic-
on, and I think that.
Participation rate is so little, you need to get the information out there some other way.
Correct, and I think Facebook hurt us. I'm not gonna lie, Facebook hurt us.
Oh,
And
definitely.
we didn't rebuttal any of it other than.
Well,
the
I
Northbrook
considered it,
principal.
but I didn't really want to throw myself to the wolves, to tell you the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Because I just figured that would be,
Yeah, I think that we have to strategize on how to use social media better for ourselves. For sure.
Absolutely.
I think it's really hard, and we're always trying to sort of stay above the fray. So we have to figure out how to manage it in a better way. So that's some work that we.
Maybe there could be like just an informative page where it's not anything where people are going back and forth.
Well, we have the superintendent's Facebook page. I don't know if Steve gave you all the access, but he had a page that he used. I think when I looked at it the other day, I think it hadn't been used since 18. But
Yeah,
there was a
so
superintendent's Facebook page.
Laura
out
used
there.
to watch things for us, Laura Cashel, and try to counter some of that stuff. So when she came on board, he didn't utilize that too much anymore, so.
But I think it's, we need to,
Yep.
we need to jump into the Facebook world.
Yep.
The Twitter world. I know we have Twitter out there. I'll use the athletic part, for example. They created a Facebook
Yep.
page, and it has been phenomenal.
Yep.
With, putting information out there that everybody's jumping on board and agrees. We gotta get more activities of that. from
But we
our
have
end.
to remember there are a lot of people out there in the community that don't have kids in the school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're
Oh,
not
yeah, I
gonna
know.
tune into a Facebook account to see what's
Right.
going on. You need to use snail mail and mass mailings like we did for the booklet on the
But we did
referendum
that
and
and
get information
We're
out
having
there.
some trouble. We have to figure out the logistics of the mailings because
I didn't give
in
mine until
each
a
of
week
our
after.
towns, like, it feels like 50% of them didn't get to where they needed to get to. So I've got to figure
I
it out.
actually received mine on Saturday.
have somebody to do mailings, or are you sending it out to all families that you have listed and their addresses?
We send it to every resident in the district, all residents. King,
Who's
did you?
we? Who's sending it?
The district.
Yeah, we
This
send
is
it.
through the-
I didn't know if you guys
through the
like hired
postal service.
somebody to, print it and whatever,
We do hire somebody to print it out.
but you guys are
But we're the
responsible for
ones getting
sending
it,
it.
Right,
Okay.
yes. Kate, did you say something?
I just said that I received my brochure on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
I got mine a week after, so.
Okay.
I still don't
And they
have-
really did go out in plenty of time, so that was like way ahead of time, so
So,
we gotta figure that out.
do you guys take them straight to the post office?
Yep.
So we know, why would they sit there in the post office?
don't have an answer to that question.
The-
Well, so for
It's not-
the North Berwick ones may go to the post office here, but they actually get fed out through Sanford.
Well, all of them do.
Right, and well, no,
So-
Berwick goes
We
to
go
some
through
Lebanon goes to Sanford.
Yeah,
and
so
comes
we
back.
bring them to the post offices. I mean, you know, at some level, I'm not really sure how to, unless we deliver them ourselves to each and every home. So we gotta figure it out, like, there's gotta be a way, right? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, we have the Remind app
Yeah.
that, but that only touches,
That's typically
Students,
student
right?
parents.
but, so maybe we need to look at creating a email that people can subscribe to, right? As well. That hits most of it. I mean, almost everybody has email access now. There are still some out there that don't, but most everybody has email access. Most everybody's on social media. Not everybody, but most people are.
So did you, have we replaced or not replaced the person that was doing the PR?
Not yet. It's hard finding candidates.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's hard finding anybody.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Did that one come through? I didn't know she left.
Laura?
It didn't come through it didn't come through. It wasn't a classroom teacher, so it didn't necessarily need to come through for action.
Well, she wasn't full-time, was she?
No, she did partially, she did part of the tritemphobia and the other part of her piece. I don't think it ever did add up to 40 hours, but she did. So it's considered a clerical position.
I'm wondering if it would be advantageous to contact somebody to help us go get through the mailing problem.
Well, that's a big problem because our budget book is gonna go that way.
Yeah,
And
I
if
know.
that doesn't go out, I mean,
Yeah.
if families and
Yeah.
community members don't get that,
And we're on a timeline for that process.
Yep.
That's a pretty strict timeline, so we
Right.
can't really say, let's get it out
Yeah, you can't
3
put it
weeks
out a month
earlier.
earlier,
No,
you can't,
right.
yeah.
And it typically hasn't been a big issue. I mean, so this was pretty unique in terms of the fact that so many people didn't receive it. Like, because we've mailed out our town, you know, our budget booklets for years and years and years. And we have a timeline when it has to be out and it has to be to the post office in order to get to everybody. And it really hasn't been major issues. There have been a lot of ones found in the trash as people are leaving, which is like breaks your heart. But other than that, I haven't had a lot of negativity about it not being received. Now, the other thing could be, this was such a more of a hot ticket that more people realized they didn't have it. Because this was plus I think this November election was well attended anyways, based on question 1. So it could be that just more people were aware. I don't know, I think there's a lot going on with it. So, but we will keep working and do it. Get this.
okay, so we'll have facilities and finance next week. Some of what we're going to be discussing at that point are some of those other pieces about space and looking throughout the district and what can we do for space. Because as we know, North Haven is above capacity.
We mentioned right now, one of the things that Kevin discussed, is that a board decision right now, or we wanna wait till after that facilities meeting?
I think after the facilities, that would be good, yeah.
Okay, so we all set with that? Okay, weekend building use.
We're just circling back that, from last time, because we've had a lot of requests to use the facilities on the weekend, especially some of the youth athletics for the winter. And, as well as our theater, you know, we have Cinderella coming up from our students, but we also have different kinds of groups that wanna use the space. So, we've talked with Kevin Moore, head of maintenance, and we've talked to the head custodian here. And it seems like we're in really good shape here as far as building use like on Saturdays or Saturday nights for events. For the elementary schools, we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to get coverage throughout as far as custodial staff. However, if somebody gets ill or if something comes up, we may need to cancel some things. So we will open that up. We do have some requests, so we'll go through the requests as they came in and we'll be responding to those requests. We also will likely charge a fee for that because we are paying a custodian
Well,
to
don't
come
we
in.
have a fee schedule?
We have a fee schedule, but sometimes it hasn't been used in the past. If like a staff member is helping or participating with that. But because we're going to have to hire somebody on
Right, right.
overtime
Yeah.
For cleaning and sanitizing and safety, we will charge for that. So we'll get that fee out to those groups when we contact them.
Are we gonna allow spectators?
We both take a breath at the same time. There was a conversation today with athletic directors and high school principals. And they were talking about just this very topic. And one of the things that came up, but I don't believe it's been 100% vetted, is a home game, home
Fans
audience,
only.
home fans off. There's been different talk about, do you just have each child get 6 tickets?
There's all kinds of talk.
So there's a lot of talk and they haven't really come down to a decision on that yet. My hope would be that whatever is modeled and what we have to follow at the high school, we can just say trickle down.
Well, my
Yeah.
question was, what about the
Yeah.
rec aspect as well,
Right.
like all these other agencies that are gonna use it?
Right.
You know, cause I know we got theater coming up with events going on, we got
Right.
sports coming up, so
Right.
we're kind of in a little bit of a lull right now.
We are, but it's hitting, it'll be soon. Yeah.
November 22nd.
Yeah, we meet with athletics again tomorrow to talk about, because some of this is, so for instance, volleyball has been playing all fall.
Yeah.
Inside with masks and all of their spectators masked.
Yep.
I've been to a couple of the games, hasn't been a big issue, I haven't seen anybody not complying, and the athletes are playing with masks too.
Mhm.
But when you get into the larger conversations with the conferences, there are athletic directors who are feeling like they can't monitor masks on their spectators, like a basketball game or all those kinds of things. Then there's the other question of wrestlers who have such direct contact. How is that gonna, and wrestling with a mat, I don't know. So there's a lot that still needs to be ironed out that it's not really, I think it's prudent for us to like wait and see what people are doing together. And we meet with the superintendents in the morning as well to figure out what the next steps are. Because, again, it's gonna be one of those very contentious things.
I wish that SMAA could come up with a set of
We
guidelines
totally-
that all
Yep.
schools follow.
We would appreciate that a great deal, yep.
I don't know if that's possible.
Thus far, they have not stepped into that role, but
I just wish every state would be the same.
yeah,
I have a teacher friend that's in Dover, and they do math.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Right, they're
If
not.
you're in close contact,
Yeah.
you're
That's your problem.
you're told you're in close contact.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
There's no quarantine and there's no nothing.
so and in Massachusetts and Vermont, they require all their athletes to be vaccinated. So it's like everybody is very different in terms of what they're doing, and some of that we find out because we have the wrestling tournaments that typically we run. And so they've got, it's, it's
It's a lot.
so convoluted. Yeah, totally agree. But on the other side of it, just to talk about the, like Berwick Rec has asked to utilize the facilities. We wanted to make sure that you guys are okay as long as we were able to charge for the custodials and we have the people to cover it, that you're okay with us doing that. We kind of feel like it's important for the younger kids to be able to get in and.
Well, so I was
For
a
lots of
part,
reasons.
well, not really like in contact, but I heard some things of the basketball tryouts that they had last night, that there's a lot of kids that are really green because they didn't play last
Of
year,
course, right?
right? Like there's a
Makes
transition
total
year and
sense, right?
they're gonna be, so it's just gonna
Trickle down.
progressively hurt
Yeah.
throughout as the years keep going on. So
Yeah.
I mean, I wanna see us get as much activity in these schools as possible, but I've been playing baseball since day one of COVID.
Yeah.
And we've had
See, it's
minimal
different,
issues.
but you're outside, it's
Yeah.
different, you know.
Yep, but there's the kids have all been active throughout,
Yeah.
right? But
Nope,
I think it's.
Just as long as these programs understand that if there's no custodian,
Right.
they'll have to be canceling
Yeah.
some,
Yes.
that's, you know.
Yeah, and so those are some of the parameters that we'll set out for people, so that it's clear, because we do want our kids to be in school, we want our young ones to be doing sports and.
And do people have to reach out to you guys or reach out to the school admin if
It
they
goes
want
to
to
the
use gym time?
It goes to the schools, but we'll meet,
Yes.
like tomorrow, we're meeting with athletics to set up the parameters, because right now, Lauren, the assistant athletic director, is getting direct requests from Berwick Rec and from folks, so she'll meet with us, we'll work it through and go from there.
Okay. Educational program, my favorite part.
Okay, well, let's start with some highlights here. Maddox Jordan finished 7th at the state cross-country meet and will be going on to the New England meet later on this year. Josie Chadbourne, our field hockey coach, has been named the 21-22 SMAA Field Hockey Co-Coach of the Year. Our football team has their semifinal game, it's Friday night against
Portland, yeah, we haven't been in a semifinal for a really long time, this is wicked exciting.
Anthony Prack, who received a commendation for their National Merit Scholarship Program due to outstanding academic promise on the PSATs. That was highlighted in the Sentinel recently. And then Carly Cruz, who is, I believe she's a junior, is working.
She's actually a senior, I
Is she?
just looked her up, that's the only reason I know.
All right, she's I remember way back when.
She remembers her as a kid.
Way back when. And she, for her national honor, one of her service projects, she was working on the tennis courts down at the middle school. We've worked and has done a tremendous job cleaning them up. So what we're going to do is put some money in our budget, in the maintenance budget, to help do some resurfacing, getting the nets in, getting the lines in, and filling in some of those cracks so they can be used.
That'd be awesome.
Tremendous, yeah.
When I
tremendous
played there,
project.
it was like, I felt like I was chasing the tennis ball all over the place.
Yeah, well, there's
I
some,
picked something, I went somewhere else.
yes, they're excited, the athletic department is excited because they have kids that want to start the team. So that's awesome, and the other part were the courts that, probably you guys wouldn't even know, those were grant funded many years ago. So we can't just let them fade away, they actually will take our money back. If we let those,
Really?
yeah, if you don't maintain them, they tell you that you need to return the funds, even after all those years, and they check up. Because it happened probably 3 years ago, we gotta it's one of those things that just comes in and they're like, so how's this project, and then one of the projects was the tennis courts from, good lord, 25 years
It was a
ago?
while ago.
So, we're like,
When the high
let's,
school was there.
yeah, so let's, so our, we were excited that there was kids that are interested, and Aaron's, doing all the legwork to say, okay, let's start a team, so that'll be fun.
So a couple other highlights, or just things that we want to just share with you. We have heard that recently that because we're sending out the COVID letters, which are appreciated, some of the problem is that they're coming in and everybody's expecting those letters, so they're not reading them. Or, so then they're missing letters that are coming out from the schools because we're sending 1, 2, 3 times a week, we're sending letters home. So what we just wanted to run by for you is changing the method of notification so that when things are coming out from the schools, they won't have all these from us, from the central office on COVID cases. So what we are proposing is doing a dashboard on the webpage and having it updated in real time. And on that dashboard, you can look at it so it can show a graph, but it also can show numbers. And then the letter, that community letter that always goes out that says, these are the symptoms, monitor yourself or your child. And that way people can look at it whenever they want, and that you can look at it by school. It's already on we have it up on the webpage anyway, if you want to take a look at it. But I think it will cut down on the overload of communication.
So will the phone calls still be made?
No,
Well, so, well, the two things.
Yes.
The close contacts will be contacted.
Yes.
You will be contacted.
Right.
Yeah.
But every single human attached to Noble
Mhm.
will not be contacted. So like right now, it goes out to everybody who's on the list, and it has become just major. You know, I do it.
The only
I
thing
see it come
is
through and I
though,
hit delete.
I do the same thing. I get it
I get it.
4 times, I
Yeah.
think, 5 times,
Yeah.
because I get it.
Well, you've got
It's
it.
dependent, I get it,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
What, the only problem is like, so it doesn't affect this this family, this child. But how are they gonna know that I don't know.
So the dashboard is, so MSCD 35 has been doing this since the beginning, really. They just have a dashboard.
And-
Sanford has a dashboard too.
yeah, Kittery does as well.
Yeah. Because it just was, that was their way of handling it at the very beginning. So this would be a change for us, but I think with the ongoing reality of the world we live in.
So they'd still get them from the individual schools, just not the ones that you send out.
They would get, the close contacts would get their letters.
Right.
The other notification they would have to look at the dashboard.
Right.
And as you, I don't know if you've pulled it up, but you can see it based on school.
When we were sending the notifications out, well, we've only had a couple at Hanson recently, but wasn't that separated from Lebanon Elementary?
Last year we did.
Okay.
Last year, sometimes we do, yes.
Could-
But sometimes if it's in both, we would just put Lebanon/Hanson.
So it's up as Lebanon/Hanson in here.
That's why I was asking, if it's not too hard, can you leave them as separated?
Okay,
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
definitely do that.
sure.
I know I look at it kind of like, oh, we just had one at Hanson, gotta be more diligent, just checking specifically on which school.
I think this will make a lot of people happy if we transition to this.
Okay.
But we have to send out a letter to
Well,
tell everybody.
We have to communicate that to people.
We need to send a communication out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So in that communication, we will
I
shift to
would
this.
send out a separate communication.
Okay.
If you send out the one for tomorrow for
Sure.
our cases,
Okay,
it's gonna be
Right.
okay,
cases,
Okay.
it's another cases one,
all right.
moving on. So I would send out a separate thing that
Okay.
says, we're
Well,
changing the
maybe
way
we
we're
just-
doing it.
Maybe we just, so my fear is that you'll delete both of them without listening to them. So maybe just one goes out about the change.
Yeah.
And then the information
Well,
is updated on the
Maybe
site.
Correct.
do the phone call and change, can you change what the phone call says? And make it like about a change in the way we're
Okay,
notifying
sure.
you, or
Yeah,
something
we should
like
put Mike Roberts on the.
I was gonna say, Mike
Mike
Roberts,
Roberts
he's
on.
the one that does it all the time.
Pay attention, pay attention.
Yeah, yeah, have him make the change.
Yeah, my kids, they look, it's the school again.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so yes,
That's
we
number two.
can prep that voicemail to be something different and
So,
then
yeah,
we'll
not
send
the
that
same,
letter.
just, yeah.
And then in our November newsletter that goes out, we'll put it in there again as well. Thank you for that. I think that will
Yeah.
help with just for families.
I think it'll make a lot of people happy, it's getting,
It's just
Yeah.
constant.
it's, yeah.
It's constant.
Right.
And the nice thing about this is that it has if you can't see it, it has the little colors for each school, but it also, if you hit view accessible data, it's actually the actual data. Now, we're not gonna go back, we're gonna go forward, starting October 25th, basically, is when we're gonna start. So we're not gonna populate the past.
But we have those we
We
have.
do have that info,
We have
but
it all.
Right.
I think it's just a lot.
And then next board meeting, we will have a student rep attending now that things have settled down. We're just in final conversations with a student and it's a junior. So hopefully 2 years on the school board for that, so that will be good to welcome in a student. Let's see, we always talk about attendance, so student attendance these past 2 weeks have ranged from 78% present to 96% present. So again, when you look at one of our smaller schools that keeps coming in with some COVID information as we send out those letters, they're the ones that have some of the lower in-person attendance. And our staff is ranging from 91 to 97% in attendance. And the last thing is, we've been contacted by York Hospital to have them work through our buildings, for vaccine clinics, similar to what we did this past spring. We had 2 clinics at the high school. So they've reached out just asking as a community service to be able to offer that in a building. And they recommended being housed out of the middle school because it's 11-year-olds down. So having it, most schools are starting it at the middle school, so that then parents at the elementary schools would bring their children in. It would not be something done during the school day, it would be after school hours like we did with the high school one as well.
But
That involves me if it's at the middle school or the outside aspect, so we gotta figure out that aspect.
4 o'clock start is what we were thinking.
That's fine,
Okay.
there's other shoes that have to go into play.
Sure.
yeah, and
There's
it's,
standby people that have to be.
Yeah. So we don't,
Usually we have been going through EMA,
yeah,
which is main health, I think,
Right.
so this is.
and we may actually do both eventually, Travis, like we've done different clinics with, like EMA has done it with us as well. York's the first one that they were Johnny on the spot. There are some schools that are doing it during the school day, and we're not touching that. Because,
We haven't had enough distractions in
Yeah.
the last 2
Right.
years.
so we're just, no, we want you to bring your parents need to bring you and make sure that everybody is
Yeah.
eyeball to eyeball and gets it, so.
Can you get further in this? Can you please let me know so
Yes.
that I can be involved in the other aspect of my career?
Sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna have all that activity going on at the middle school, we've gotta make sure I have staffing available.
Yeah.
okay.
Is it just younger kids for the vaccines, or do you think they're doing adult boosters while they bring in, while their parents are with them kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think they haven't mentioned boosters at all, but that is a good question for us to ask.
Yeah, we can follow up, because some clinics are doing that, they're doing the littles and then they're also saying if you need a booster. Again, I think EMA has been more on that than, but we haven't asked that conversation, that question, so.
And those are our updates.
Okay. Employment.
We have 2 retirements, and we don't need to take action on these, but I wanted to just bring them forward for recognition based on the longevity of these retirements. So the first one is Rhonda Batchelder, longtime educational technician, literacy position, literacy lab, and at Lebanon Elementary School, 24 years there. And the next one is Sandy Gray, Hussey School. She's been an educational technician for special education for the past 25 years. So Sandy's finishing up on the 19th, and Rhonda finished up 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So we just want to acknowledge publicly our appreciation for their dedication and service to our students. Good. And then we do have a resignation, and that's Shauna Street, who is the North Berwick Elementary School Guidance Counselor, and we do need a motion on that.
I'd like to make a motion.
I make a motion, we accept her resignation.
Somebody to second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's number 7 now.
I got her out of here.
It's like, oh. Public input.
Thank goodness.
Still 0.
It's nice to see you, Pam. I bet.
Others. I knew you always have another.
I do, and I'm gonna be the evil one that drops it. What are we doing with snow days this year?
Oh, good, that's actually good that you
Think
brought it
you're
up.
doing with what?
Snow days.
We're
Snow
almost
days.
there, but it was frost on my window.
Yes,
Right,
True.
okay.
So we're almost there.
Right, so we were hoping that it would be something really easy to say that we could have remote snow days. And
Yeah.
we are having trouble with that because of the school nutrition policies and guidelines, that's a portion of it. Last year, they gave us grace to be able to say, okay, you can send home like a shelf-friendly food for students, and that could, like, we would send it out and it could last for a while, shelf-stable food. This year, they're not allowing that to happen. So what they have said is you can't give any food out 5 days prior to a snow day. And if
It has to be within that time frame. Like you could do it 4 days, but it can't be longer than that.
You would have to give up food if we call it snow
But how do
day.
you know when the
We have to
snow
call it
day's
snow
coming?
day.
No,
They don't
ordered,
get
so-
food
So
anyway.
to count, like if
For it
you
to count as a non-snow day, as a remote day, right?
So that's almost impossible right now, given the fact that some of these are so up in the air until 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the
Right.
morning, and with the staffing, you know, you can't do it that day. You don't want anybody driving on those days at 4 o'clock in the morning if your plowing isn't done yet or anything like that. So there's really no good answer right now to have a remote day count for a school on an inclement weather day, if that makes
See, I
sense.
thought the State Department had to approve that anyway. About the whole, blizzard
Right,
bag thing that we
right,
talked about.
right.
And
So they've actually said you can do remote, but you have to provide a meal in order to do that. In order for it to count as a day, we have to provide a meal. So, which is,
And we can't send, you're talking about the shelf-stable stuff, what about frozen? That way it can stay in there until needed?
so you have to provide a
5
milk.
days.
Oh, no.
You have to provide a milk and some vegetable and fresh, like, so it creates, it's hard. And they were definitely more lenient last year because of the whole situation. And the fact is that every meal is free right now for all students. Yes, it's hard. It's pretty hard. So Abby came to us and said, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know how to make this work for what we're talking about. And honestly, we don't need them.
also the rest of the whole state's gonna be in the
Yeah, they're in the
same
same
Yes,
place.
yep.
They're in the same
Right.
place.
The state is so frustrating
Yeah.
sometimes. They get rid of some of these guidelines and just let us be
Yeah.
our state.
Yeah, I agree.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
So
We got the reality, we can do remote learning, let's let the
I know.
kids.
Yeah.
Let the kids learn.
yeah. So there's that, and we don't disagree with you, Travis. I think the first few it's gonna be okay. The problem that we're gonna have is if we have a lot of snow days, because we don't know what the weather's gonna be, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to revisit this
I mean,
and say, okay, how can we make this work? And I think there's other problems similar to, I think, Abby sent out sort of the troubles that she's been facing this year in terms of supply and demand. That's another piece of this whole puzzle as well, is like what you can get in that's shelf-stable, that can be sent out, and then there's, like, we even talked about, what are those milks that don't have to
Yes.
like be refrigerated?
And the little red ones.
Yeah, she was gonna look into it, but I don't know that they were available everything is in a spot, so.
Well, how are you gonna deliver them on a snow day?
Well, that's the thing, is the piece
If
would be,
it's a-
can we send those out? If we know that we're gonna have like, we know there's gonna be a blizzard, can we send things out 2 days before? But that, it just doesn't always work that way.
But yeah, it's crazy, because you're planning that you're in school, these are the meals, and then to have to switch it to something completely different and not knowing until right before, it is.
It's like you have to decide on a snow day 48 hours ahead.
That's right.
Exactly.
Which sometimes it
sometimes
sounds
you
like
can do.
it's.
but
Sometimes you can, but
Sometimes
it's
you
usually
can.
can't.
Yeah.
So I would say stay tuned for adventure and anticipate typical traditional snow days for a little bit.
Okay, we still budgeted.
Our 5 days are.
5 days in
Yeah.
our calendar, right?
Yeah.
Not budgeted.
I think we were all hoping that out of the pandemic, there would be at least one nice little.
Good
positive.
thing.
Right,
But
Like,
there's a lot of rules.
so let it keep working.
Yeah.
Not that I wanna
Feel free.
take all snow days away, I think kids deserve some, but.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me that if it's a really bad day, they're not gonna, and we do have school, some of the parents keep their kids home.
right.
Because it's bad
Yes.
driving or whatever.
Yep.
Right.
So, I mean, they're not getting their free lunch.
I know.
Well, and one of the other sides is that we don't, our elementary kids don't bring their computers home, so we have to juggle that one out as well. You have to have some sort of advance notice to
Right.
send all their computers home.
Right,
And the
right,
chargers.
right, the charges are a big thing.
Yeah, the chargers.
That's unfortunate.
Kate, did you want to take a moment to talk about the conference?
Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I needed to get off mute.
There you
Um,
go.
it was a very interesting experience, I have to say. I've gone to a number of virtual events for my work, but this was different. It was unique in that there was an attempt to really make it feel like you were in a space and interacting with people in real time. I have some notes that I apologize I haven't cleaned up, and I meant to send them out this week, but hopefully I'll get to them tomorrow. And there's also an application you can download, and you could actually go on and see speakers. You could look at some surveys that were taken. So they did a lot of kind of interactive things to break up the day so that it wasn't like you were sitting on a Zoom call for 8 hours. You had the opportunity to sort of walk around the site, if you will. And I don't know if anybody has any questions that I could answer for them. Nope.
I think your notes will be helpful.
Yes, yeah. And then if you have questions, we can go back and revisit that next meeting if we could.
Thank you.
And all
And I
can say
would
about that is that was the
encourage you
deadline.
to download the app. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear that.
What'd you say, Kate?
No, and I would encourage you to download the app because it's a very unique way to approach a virtual event.
That was the day that we had a tree come down across the driveway.
Yeah.
Taking power lines and pole. Oh, but we lost the power. And they got to my house and they said, you better go turn off the breaker because the neutral line had broken and all the electricity was coming in on the one line and usually it feels like.
Okay.
So once I recovered from that, but I did get the handouts and they did
Oh, good.
record it.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. Anybody else have another?
Oh my gosh, guys, 7:50.
What?
Do it.
I might have another, and I'm sorry
okay.
to break the record.
That's because you're home already, Kate.
I know, sorry. Don't make this quick. So the North Berwick Dems had a meeting last night, and of course, one of the topics was the school bond not passing. And they would really like to be involved with the school committee and make an effort to get out into the community and talk about the need and how we can get this passed. So I just wanted to put that on the table that the Democrat committee in North Berwick would like to help us. So they will be attending our meetings, hopefully in coming weeks and months, and they are more than willing to help.
Which committee was that?
The North Berwick Democrats. We actually attended, a few folks attended. It got a little rough here. They were here to support us. They were in the crowd, doing the positives, yeah. Thank you, Kate. Anybody else? Okay, somebody needs to make a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Just like last time. Thank you, Mike. All those in favor? Accept the timing, 7:51, I am.
Oh my gosh, my son is
Very good.
awake. This is awesome.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay.